A single mom begged a stranger in the hospital hallway. Please help me. My baby is dying. I have no one else. What she didn't know, the man she grabbed was a mafia boss who'd faked his death and disappeared 2 years ago. He'd sworn never to return to violence. But when she said, "Please save my son," he broke that promise. One last time. The fluorescent lights in St. Mary's Hospital hummed like dying wasps at 11:47 p.m., and Rico Valente, though his hospital badge read Marcus Delgado, stood outside ICU room 412, watching his mother's chest rise and fall through the glass. 3 months in a coma. 3 months of beeping machines and the antiseptic smell that clung to everything. He pressed his forehead against the cool window. Just a little longer, Mama. Hold on. The doctors said she might never wake up. The stroke had been massive, unforgiving. But Rico came every night anyway, slipping into the hospital through the service entrance, keeping his head down, staying invisible. That was the deal he'd made with himself 2 years ago when he walked away from the Valente crime family. Disappear, stay clean, let the past die. A woman's scream shattered the quiet corridor. Rico spun around. 20 feet away, a young woman staggered against the wall, her knees buckling. She wore yoga pants and an oversized sweater, her dark hair falling in tangles around her face. She couldn't have been more than 25. In her trembling hands, she clutched a crumpled tissue and a phone with a cracked screen. "No, no, no," she gasped, sliding down the wall. "Please, God, please." Rico moved instinctively, catching her elbow before she hit the floor. "Hey, easy. I got you." Her eyes were wild, red-rimmed. My baby's dying." "Where's your baby?" "NICU. 4th floor. They said," her voice cracked. "They said he needs surgery.
Right now. Tonight."
But the doctor..." A sob choked off her words. The overhead speakers crackled to life. Code red neonatal. 4th floor NICU. Code red neonatal. The woman, Elena, her visitor badge red, clawed at Rico's jacket. "That's him. That's my son. He has a heart defect. The valve. They said Dr. Valente is the only pediatric cardiac surgeon here tonight, but he's gone. They can't find him. 6 hours, they said. Without surgery, my baby has 6 hours." Rico's blood turned to ice. "Valente. What did you say? What's the doctor's name?" "Dr. Gabriel Valente. He was supposed to be on call, but..." The world tilted. Gabriel. His little brother. The one who'd walked away from the family 8 years ago to become a doctor. The one who'd sworn he'd never touch the family's dirty money, never look back. The one Rico had let go because Gabriel deserved better than the Valente legacy of blood and bullets. "Ma'am, I need you to breathe," Rico said, his voice steadier than his racing heart. "Tell me exactly what happened." Elena gulped air. "Security said his car is still in the parking lot. His phone is off. He just vanished. They're trying to call in another surgeon, but the closest one is 4 hours away in Philadelphia, and the storm..." She gestured toward the rain-lashed windows. "The roads are flooded. My baby doesn't have 4 hours." A nurse rushed past them toward the elevators, medical bag in hand. 2 security guards jogged behind her, radios crackling. Rico helped Elena to her feet. "Come on. Let's go to the NICU. They might have more information." "Who are you?" she asked, suddenly suspicious despite her desperation. "A friend," Rico lied smoothly. "My mother's a patient here. I know how this place works. You shouldn't be alone right now." They took the elevator to the 4th floor. The NICU waiting area was chaos. Nurses rushing in and out, a doctor shouting orders, machines wailing. Through the glass partition, Rico could see a tiny form in an incubator, surrounded by desperate medical staff. Elena pressed her hands against the glass, tears streaming. "His name is Matthew. He's only 3 days old." A harried nurse approached them. "Mrs. Rivera, we're doing everything we can, but without Dr. Valente." "What about the parking lot?" Rico interrupted. "You checked the security footage." The nurse blinked. "Who are you?" "Family friend. Answer the question." Something in Rico's tone made her comply. Security is reviewing it now. If you'll excuse me. Rico grabbed her arm gently but firmly. I need to see that footage.
Now.
Sir, that's not. My brother is that surgeon, Rico said quietly. Dr. Gabriel Valente. And if something's happened to him, you're going to want all the help you can get. The nurse's eyes widened. She glanced at Elena, then back at Rico. Follow me. They descended one floor to the security office. Two guards huddled around a monitor, rewinding through grainy black and white footage. Rico's gut clenched as the timestamp rolled. 7:43 p.m. On screen, Gabriel walked through the parking lot, doctor's coat flapping in the wind, heading toward his Prius. A black SUV pulled up behind him. Two men emerged, faces obscured by hoodies. One drew a gun. Gabriel's hand shot up. Jesus Christ, one of the guards muttered. Elena gasped. Rico watched, stone-faced, as his brother was forced into the SUV at gunpoint. The vehicle sped away, taillights disappearing into the rain. That was 4 hours ago, the head guard said. We called the police immediately, but what? Rico's voice was ice. They've got their hands full with the storm. Multiple accidents, flooding downtown. They said they'd send someone when they could. Rico's jaw tightened. He knew exactly what "when they could" meant. Gabriel didn't have that kind of time. Neither did Elena's baby. He turned to Elena. Her face was white, shock settling in. The surgeon's been kidnapped, she whispered. My son is going to die. Rico stared at the frozen image on the security monitor, his brother's terrified face caught in the SUV's interior light.
2 years.
2 years of staying clean, staying invisible, staying out of the life. And now the past was reaching out with bloody fingers, dragging him back. Behind him, the code red announcement blared again. 6 hours, they'd said. More like 5 now. He could walk away. Call the police, let them handle it, stay Marcus Delgado. His mother would never know he'd broken his promise. Or he could become Rico Valente again. Just one more time. Elena's hand suddenly gripped his. You said he's your brother. Can you help?
Please. Please.
I know I'm a stranger, but my baby, her voice broke. He's all I have. Rico looked at her, really looked at her. Single mom, probably working 2 jobs just to keep the lights on, world crumbling around her. And innocent, just like Gabriel had been once upon a time. I'll find him, Rico heard himself say. I'll bring your surgeon back.
How?
The police. Forget the police. Rico pulled out his phone, the cheap burner he kept for emergencies. I know people. People who can find people. It was a lie and the truth all at once. The people he knew weren't the kind you called for help. They were the kind you called to deliver a message written in broken bones and shallow graves. But they'd know who took Gabriel.
And why?
And God help them when Rico Valente came collecting. The security guard rewound the footage again. That SUV, black Escalade, no plates. Professional job. Rico leaned closer to the monitor, studying every frame. The 2 men who'd taken Gabriel moved with military precision. One kept the gun trained while the other zip-tied Gabriel's wrists behind his back. 30 seconds, start to finish. They knew exactly what they were doing. And Rico knew exactly who they worked for. The tattoo on the gunman's neck, just visible for a split second when his hood shifted, was a coiled serpent. The Serpents. A gang that had been clawing for territory in the Harbor District for the past 3 years, stepping on Valente family toes, making noise. Rico's hands curled into fists. They took my brother. Can you enhance the image? Elena asked desperately. See the license plate or? No plates, the guard repeated. And the angle's wrong. We've got nothing. What about traffic cameras? Rico asked. They had to drive somewhere. Track the route. The second guard shook his head. We reported it to police. They'll check traffic cams when they can get to it. Like I said, the storm has everyone slammed. When they can get to it, Rico repeated flatly. He checked his watch. 12:08 a.m. That baby has less than 5 hours. Elena swayed on her feet. Rico caught her arm again, steadying her. Mrs. Rivera, you should sit down, the head guard said, pulling over a chair. We've contacted every hospital within 200 miles. Someone will. No one will make it in time, a new voice said.
They turned.
Dr. Patricia Chun, the NICU director, stood in the doorway. Her surgical cap was askew, exhaustion carved into her face. She looked at Elena with the kind of sympathy doctors learned to deliver quickly. The closest pediatric cardiac surgeon is Dr. Morrison in Philadelphia, Dr. Chun said. He's willing to come, but Interstate 95 is flooded in 3 places. They're saying 4 hours minimum, maybe 6. We've also reached out to Dr. Okafor in Baltimore, same problem. The storm has shut down everything. What about Hopkins? Penn. Rico pressed. Everyone's either in surgery, unreachable, or trapped by the weather. Dr. Chen's voice cracked slightly. Gabriel Valente was our only option tonight. His specialty is neonatal cardiac surgery. He's one of the best on the East Coast. That's why he was on call. Elena made a sound like a wounded animal. So my baby just dies because of timing? Because of rain? We're not giving up, Dr. Chen said firmly. We're keeping Matthew stabilized, but his heart, she paused. The defect is worsening. Without surgical intervention, his heart will fail.
I'm sorry.
I wish I had better news. Rico watched Elena crumble. She pressed her face into her hands, shoulders shaking with silent sobs. Something twisted in his chest, an old, familiar rage. The world was cruel and random. Innocent people suffered while monsters thrived. He'd seen it his whole life. But tonight, he could do something about it. Dr. Chen turned to Rico. You said you're Dr. Valente's brother? Yes. Have you had any contact with him? Any idea who would do this? Rico's mind raced. He couldn't tell them the truth, that Gabriel had walked away from a crime family, that the Valente name carried weight in certain circles, that the serpents might have grabbed him for leverage or revenge. Saying any of that would raise questions Rico couldn't afford to answer. No contact, he lied.
We're
estranged. But I'm going to find him. The police won't move fast enough. Rico pulled out his phone. I have contacts. People who can ask questions the police can't. Dr. Chen studied him carefully. What kind of contacts? The kind that get results. Rico met her gaze steadily. You focus on keeping that baby alive. I'll bring Gabriel back. Sir, I don't know what you're planning, but don't ask questions you don't want answered, Doctor. The security guards shifted uncomfortably. Dr. Chen's jaw tightened, but she nodded slowly. 5 hours. That's all we have. I'll need less. Rico headed for the door. Elena stumbled after him, grabbing his sleeve. Wait. Take me with you. No. Please. I can't just sit here and… You need to be with your son. Rico's voice softened. He needs his mother. I'll handle this. But how? How can you possibly? Because the people who took Gabriel made a mistake. Rico's eyes went cold. They took someone I care about. And I'm very good at making people regret their mistakes. Elena searched his face. Whatever she saw there made her step back. You're not just his brother, are you? She whispered. You're something else. Rico didn't answer. He didn't need to. Just bring him back, Elena said. I don't care how. I don't care what you have to do. Bring him back, so he can save my baby. I will. Rico paused at the door. What's your son's full name? Matthew. Matthew James Rivera. Matthew James Rivera. Rico repeated, committing it to memory. A name. A real person. Not just a ticking clock or a mission objective. I'll bring your surgeon back, Mrs. Rivera. That's a promise. He walked out before she could respond, before the security guards could ask more questions, before Dr. Chun could call the police. The corridor was quieter now, just the steady beep of machines and the whisper of nurses' shoes on linoleum. Rico's phone was already in his hand. One call. That's all it would take to step back into the darkness he'd worked so hard to escape. One call to become Rico Valente again. But first he needed to think, needed to plan, needed to remember who he used to be and what he was capable of. He found himself walking toward the hospital chapel on the second floor, his feet carrying him there by instinct. His mother had always said that when you had impossible choices, you took them to God. Rico wasn't sure God would want to hear from him tonight. But he was going to make a vow anyway. The chapel was empty. It always was at this hour, just a small room with 6 wooden pews, a simple altar, and a cross on the wall. A single candle flickered in a red glass holder, casting dancing shadows across the stone floor. Rico slipped inside and closed the door behind him. The silence wrapped around him like a shroud. He sank onto the back pew, elbows on his knees, head in his hands. 2 years. 2 years of working construction under a fake name. 2 years of keeping his head down, staying clean, pretending Marcus Delgado was a real person with a real life. 2 years of visiting his comatose mother and praying she'd never wake up to see what he'd been. All of it about to crumble because of one phone call. His burner phone sat heavy in his pocket. One call to Tommy Knuckles Marchetti, his old cruise enforcer. Tommy would know who ran with the Serpents now, where they operated, how to find them. Tommy would also know that Rico Valente calling after 2 years of silence meant only one thing. Someone was about to die. Rico pulled his mother's rosary from his other pocket. The black beads were worn smooth from decades of prayers. She'd given it to him the night before his first collection job for his father. He'd been 17, scared, trying to act tough. "You pray before and after," she told him, pressing the rosary into his palm. "You ask God for strength to do what you must. Then you ask forgiveness for doing it." He'd carried it ever since. Through beatings and shootings and worse. Through the night his father was gunned down in a restaurant. Through the year he'd run the family business himself, making hard calls, burying bodies, counting blood money. The rosary had been in his pocket the night Gabriel found him in their father's old office, surrounded by ledgers and guns. "This is what you've become?" Gabriel had shouted. "Dad's dead 2 months, and you're already him. Worse than him. Someone has to run things. Then let it burn." Let it all burn. Gabriel's face had been twisted with disgust. "I got into med school. Johns Hopkins. I'm leaving. I'm never coming back to this poison. You think you can just walk away? You're a Valente."
No.
"You're a Valente. I'm Gabriel Santos." He'd taken their mother's maiden name. "And I'm going to save lives instead of taking them. I'm going to be someone she can be proud of." Rico had let him go. Told the crew Gabriel was off limits, untouchable, gone. It was the only decent thing he'd done in years. And now Gabriel was paying for Rico's past anyway. "God, if you're listening," Rico whispered to the empty chapel, "I don't know what to do here." The candle flame flickered, but didn't answer. "I walked away for a reason. I tried to be better. For Mama. For myself." His fingers tightened around the rosary. "But Gabriel. He's the good one. He actually made something of himself. And that baby, Matthew, he's innocent. 3 days old, and his clock's already running out." Rico stood, pacing the small aisle between pews. His reflection caught in the dark windows, a man in his 30s, broad-shouldered, with his father's jaw and his mother's dark eyes. He looked like Marcus Delgado, construction worker. But underneath, Rico Valente was still there, waiting. Always waiting. "If I make this call," he said to the cross on the wall, "people will get hurt. Maybe killed. The cops will ask questions. My cover's blown. Everything I built these 2 years turns to ash." The alternative was unthinkable. Gabriel dead in some warehouse. Little Matthew dying because his surgeon never came. Elena collapsing in that NICU, her whole world ending. Rico knew what his father would do. The old man would have burned the city down to save family. But his father had been a monster who died choking on his own blood, unmourned except by the mother who loved him despite everything. Gabriel had chosen differently. Chosen light over darkness, healing over hurting. But Gabriel couldn't save himself tonight. Rico closed his eyes, rosary beads pressed against his forehead. Once more, he whispered. Just once more. I go back to who I was. Save my brother. Save that baby. Then I disappear. New city, new name. I'll never touch this life again. It was a promise.
A vow.
Maybe even a prayer. Once more. He opened his eyes. The decision settled over him like armor, cold and familiar. He knew what he had to do now. The guilt would come later, it always did. But Matthew Rivera didn't have time for Rico's moral crisis. Rico pocketed the rosary and headed for the door. In the hallway, a supply cart sat unattended near the elevator, probably left by a nurse responding to the code red. On top, plugged into the wall, a phone was charging. Not a cell phone. One of the hospital's cordless courier phones that maintenance and delivery staff used. Rico glanced left and right. The corridor was empty. He unplugged the phone and slipped it into his jacket. These phones had outside lines, bypassed the hospital switchboard. More importantly, they weren't registered to him. Couldn't be traced to Marcus Delgado. Back in the stairwell, Rico pulled out his burner and the courier phone. He dialed Tommy's number from memory. He'd never saved it, never wrote it down, but some numbers you didn't forget. 3 rings.
4.
Yeah. Tommy's voice was rough, suspicious. Middle-of-the-night calls were never good news. It's Rico. Silence. Then, holy shit. Ghost Boy himself. Thought you were dead. I need information.
Fast.
The Serpents grabbed someone tonight. My brother. I need to know where they took him. Your brother? Didn't know you had. Tommy paused.
Wait.
The doctor? The one you said was off limits. That's him. They snatched him from St. Mary's Hospital 4 hours ago. Black Escalade, 2 guys, professional grab. Tommy whistled low. The Serpents have been making moves, boss. Real aggressive since Mateo Cruz took over. They're pushing product in the harbor, stealing territory. Heard they got some operation at the old docks, around Pier 17-inch.
Pier 17, Rico repeated.
You sure? That's the word. Look, man, you sure you want back in? You ghosted clean. This is. I don't have time for questions. Where exactly at Pier 17? Probably the old harbor gym. It's their clubhouse now. But Rico, if you're going in there alone, I'm not asking for backup. Just information. Your funeral, Tommy's voice dropped. You need hardware. Rico thought about the gun he'd buried 2 years ago, wrapped in plastic under his apartment floorboards. Insurance he'd hoped never to use. I'll handle it. Good luck, boss. Try not to die. Rico hung up and stared at both phones in his hands. The point of no return had just passed without ceremony. He was Rico Valente again. And the Serpents were about to learn why people used to whisper that name in fear. Rico moved fast. He took the staff-only stairwell down to the ground floor, boots echoing on concrete steps. His mind was already 3 steps ahead. Get to his apartment, retrieve the gun, head to Harbor Gym. Clock ticking, 4 hours and change. He pushed through the stairwell door into a maintenance corridor that led to the ambulance bay. Delivery entrance, service exit, minimal security cameras. The kind of route you learned when you needed to come and go without being noticed. His burner was already out, dialing another number. Vinny Russo, a fence who'd done business with half the crews in the city. If anyone knew the Serpents' current operations, it was Vinny. The phone rang once.
Twice.
Behind him, a door opened. Soft footsteps. Vinny, it's Rico Valente, he said quietly into the phone, not turning around. I need current intel on the Serpents. Who's running point? What properties they're using? Rico? Jesus, man, you're alive. Vinny's nasal voice crackled through. Word was you'd gone ghost. I had. Now I'm back. The Serpents grabbed my brother from St. Mary's Hospital tonight. I need to know where they took him. Your brother? Shit, man, hold on. Rico heard papers shuffling, Vinny's muffled voice talking to someone else. The footsteps behind him had stopped, but he could feel eyes on his back. He turned slightly. Elena stood 15 feet away, half hidden in the corridor shadows. Her arms were wrapped around herself, face pale in the emergency lighting. She'd followed him. Their eyes met. Rico held up one finger, wait, and turned back to his call. Okay, listen, Vinny said. Mateo Cruz runs the Serpents now. Nasty piece of work. They've been operating out of Pier 17, using the old harbor gym as a front. But here's the thing, Cruz's second-in-command, guy named Hector Ruiz, got shot 3 days ago. Some deal went bad in Baltimore. Word is he's critical, needs surgery. Rico's blood went cold. Surgery. Yeah. They can't take him to a hospital 'cause the cops'll grab him, right? So they need a doctor who can. Vinny paused.
Oh, shit.
Your brother's a doctor? Surgeon. Pediatric cardiac. Man, that's why they grabbed him. Cruz is trying to save Ruiz. They probably figured a surgeon's a surgeon. Rico's jaw clenched. Gabriel was being forced to operate on a gangster. His little brother, who'd sworn to save lives, with a gun to his head. We're at Pier 17?
Rico Prest.
The gym? Gym's the clubhouse, but they wouldn't do surgery there. Too many people. Probably one of the warehouses nearby. There's 3 or 4 still standing. I'd check the old fish processing plant at the end of the pier. It's got power, running water, isolated.
Got it.
I owe you, Vinny. Hey, Rico. Be careful. The Serpents don't play nice. And if you're going in alone, I'll manage. Rico glanced at Elena again. She was closer now, trying to hear. Meet me at the harbor gym if you hear anything else. I'll check there first. He hung up and pocketed the burner. The courier phone's screen glowed in his other hand, showing the callback number from Vinny's line. Rico turned to face Elena. You shouldn't have followed me, he said quietly. I needed to know you were serious. Her voice shook, but her eyes were fierce. That you weren't just going to disappear. I don't have time for... I heard. Harbor gym.
Pier 17, Elena stepped closer.
They took him to operate on someone. One of their own. Yeah. So Gabriel's alive.
He has to be.
They need him. For now, Rico headed toward the ambulance bay exit. But once that surgery's done, he's a liability. I need to move. Elena grabbed his arm. I'm coming with you. Absolutely not. I can help. I can. Mrs. Rivera, you have a dying baby upstairs who needs his mother. Rico pulled free gently, but firmly. I appreciate the offer, but this is not your world. You go back to the NICU. Hold your son's hand.
Pray.
Let me do what I'm good at. What are you good at? She whispered. Rico's expression went flat. Things you don't want to know about. He pushed through the exit door into the ambulance bay. Rain hammered the concrete, wind whipping through the covered area. His car was parked in the visitor lot across the access road, a beat-up Honda Civic that Marcus Delgado drove. Rico Valente would have had something faster, something with power. But that life was supposed to be dead. Tonight it was resurrected. Wait. Elena called from the doorway. The phone. That courier phone. You should give it back. Rico looked down at the phone in his hand. She was right. He couldn't just steal it. He turned back. A young guy in scrubs was coming through the corridor, pushing a cart of linens. His ID badge read, Miguel Santos, night courier. Miguel, Rico called out. This yours? Miguel looked up, saw the phone. Oh man, yeah. I've been looking for that. Where'd you find it? Charging station by the 3rd floor elevator. Rico handed it over. Might want to keep better track of it. Yeah, my supervisor's gonna kill me. Thanks, dude. Elena watched the exchange, her eyes tracking the phone. In that brief moment when Miguel checked the screen before pocketing it, Rico saw her lean forward slightly, squinting. The callback number was still displayed, Vinny's line. Her eyes widened. She was memorizing it.
Damn. But there was no time to deal with that now.
Rico gave her one last look, half warning, half apology, and jogged through the rain to his car. The engine coughed to life. Through the rain-streaked windshield, he could see Elena standing in the ambulance bay entrance, illuminated by the red emergency lights. She raised one hand, not quite a wave. More like a prayer. Rico put the car in gear and drove into the storm. Behind him, St. Mary's Hospital grew smaller in the rearview mirror. Ahead, somewhere in the darkness of the Harbor District, his brother was being forced to operate at gunpoint. And Rico Valente, the ghost who was supposed to be dead, was coming back to life. One more time. Just once more. The city lights blurred past as he drove toward the old harbor, toward violence, toward the man he'd tried so hard to stop being. The point of no return was 20 miles behind him now. The harbor gym squatted at the end of a dead-end street like a rotting tooth. Graffiti covered the brick walls, serpents coiled around skulls, territorial tags, threats in Spanish and English. The neon sign that once spelled boxing now just flickered box in dying red light. Rico parked 2 blocks away and approached on foot. 1:07 a.m., and the rain had slowed to a drizzle, but the streets were slick with oil and water. 3 hours and 50 minutes left. He'd stopped at his apartment first. The Glock 19 he'd buried under the floorboards was exactly where he'd left it, wrapped in plastic and oiled. Muscle memory took over, checking the magazine, chambering around, tucking it into the back of his waistband. Like putting on an old jacket that still fit perfectly. Now he stood in the shadows across from the gym, watching. 2 guys lounged outside the front door, smoking cigarettes under the awning. Both had the serpent tattoo visible on their necks. One wore a leather jacket, the other a hoodie. Guns bulged under their clothes. Rico recognized the one in the hoodie, Luis Pacheco, a low-level enforcer who used to run numbers for the Moretti family before they collapsed. The other guy was younger, maybe 20, trying too hard to look tough. This was going to hurt. Rico stepped into the streetlight, hands visible, walking straight toward them. Luis saw him first. The cigarette dropped from his lips. Holy shit. Evening, Luis, Rico said calmly. The younger guy's hand moved toward his waistband. Who the hell are? Don't, Luis grabbed his partner's wrist. That's Rico Valente. Rico Valente's dead. Do I look dead? Rico stopped 10 feet away, rain dripping from his hair. I need to talk to whoever's running things tonight. Luis recovered his composure, but his eyes were wary. Valente. Man, we heard you got clipped 2 years ago. Chicago hit or something. Rumor. I've been around. Just keeping quiet. Yeah? Well, you picked a bad night to get loud. Luis flicked his cigarette into a puddle. This is serpent territory now. You got no business here. My business is with Mateo Cruz. Or whoever's holding my brother. The younger guy laughed. Your brother? You mean the doctor? He grinned at Luis. This is the surgeon's big brother? The one Hector said. Shut up, Tito, Luis snapped. Then to Rico. Look, man, I don't know what you think you're doing, but you need to walk away. Cruz finds out you're sniffing around. I'm not walking away. My brother leaves with me. Tonight. That ain't happening. Then we have a problem. Rico moved before they could react. 2 steps forward, grabbed Tito's gun hand, twist hard. The kid yelped as his wrist bent at an ugly angle. Rico drove his knee into Tito's gut, yanked the pistol free, and shoved him sprawling into Luis. Luis was faster. He had his gun halfway out when Rico pressed Tito's weapon against his forehead. Don't.
Luis froze.
Behind them, the gym door banged open. For more serpents poured out, all armed, all pointing guns at Rico. Drop it, one shouted. Rico kept the gun pressed to Luis's head. Tell them what happens if they shoot.
Luis já o clancha.
Stand down. He'll blow my head off. Smart man, Rico raised his voice. I'm here for one reason. You took Dr. Gabriel Valente from St. Mary's Hospital. I want him back. You must be out of your damn mind. A voice called from the doorway. A tall man emerged, mid-40s, with slicked-back hair and a scar running from his ear to his chin. Snake tattoo wrapped around his throat. This had to be someone with authority. The others deferred immediately. Diego Flores, Rico said, recognizing the serpent's lieutenant. Been a while. Rico Valente. Diego smiled, showing gold teeth.
Heard you were dead.
Guess that was wishful thinking. Where's my brother? Busy. He's performing life-saving surgery on our second-in-command. Very delicate work. We'd hate to interrupt him. Then I'll wait. He comes with me when he's done. Diego laughed. That's not how this works, Hermano. Your baby brother made a deal. He saves Hector's life. We let him go. You showing up here causing trouble? That complicates things.
No complications.
I take Gabriel. You forget we were here. See, problem is, we can't trust that Diego pulled out his own gun, aimed it casually at Rico. You're the infamous Rico Valente. We kill you, we make a name. We let you walk, you come back with an army. So really, you just signed your brother's death warrant by showing up. Rico's finger tightened on the trigger pressed against Luis's skull. You pull that trigger, Luis dies first. Then I put 3 more of you down before you drop me. You want that math? I've got 6 guns on you, Holmes. And I've got nothing to lose. Rico's voice went dead cold. My brother walks out alive, or we all die in this shithole street. Your call, Diego. The standoff stretched. Rain pattered on concrete. Someone's gun clicked, safety off. Then Diego laughed again, genuinely amused. You got balls, I'll give you that. Big brother riding to the rescue. It's almost sweet. Where is he? Like I said, operating. The old processing plant at the end of Pier 17. Hector took 3 bullets in Baltimore. 1 nicked his liver. Your brother's trying to patch him up with whatever medical shit we could steal from the hospital supply closet, Diego grinned.
Touching, really.
You both trying to save people. Difference is, we're making sure Gabriel saves the right people. How many guards? Like I'm gonna tell you that Diego gestured with his gun. Here's what's gonna happen. You're gonna put down Tito's gun real slow. Then you're gonna walk away and pretend this conversation never happened. Because if you try to hit that warehouse, my guys will kill you and your brother both. Understand? Rico met his eyes. Read the calculation there. Diego wasn't bluffing about the warehouse guards. But he also wasn't going to start a firefight here in the street. Too much heat, too much attention. I'm going to see my brother, Rico said quietly. Whether you help or not, then you're a dead man walking. Rico slowly lowered the gun from Luis's head, let it drop to the pavement, raised his hands. We'll see. Diego motioned to his crew. Get him out of here. He comes back, shoot him. 2 serpents grabbed Rico's arms, dragged him backward down the street. He didn't resist. He'd gotten what he came for, confirmation Gabriel was alive, location confirmed, and a sense of how many men he was up against. They threw him against his Honda. You're lucky Diego's feeling generous, one growled. Now disappear before we change our minds. Rico climbed into his car, started the engine. Through the windshield, he could see Diego watching from the gym entrance, surrounded by his crew. Rico pulled away slowly, but he wasn't heading home. He was heading to Pier 17.
To the old processing plant.
To get his brother back or die trying. The clock read 1:29 a.m. 3.5 hours left. The rain came back with a vengeance. It hammered Rico's windshield in sheets, the wipers struggling to keep up. Lightning cracked the sky over the harbor, illuminating the skeletal cranes and warehouses in stark white flashes. Rico's hands gripped the steering wheel until his knuckles went white. The Glock pressed cold against his spine. His heart hammered a rhythm that matched the rain. 3 hours left, 3 hours left, 3 hours left. The GPS on his phone showed Pier 17 was 8 minutes away. 8 minutes to plan an assault on a fortified warehouse with an unknown number of armed guards. 8 minutes to figure out how to extract Gabriel without getting them both killed. 8 minutes to remember why he'd let his brother walk away in the first place. 8 years ago, the old Valente estate in Queens. The memory hit him like a fist. Rico was 27, barely a month into running the family after their father's assassination. The weight of it was crushing, making decisions about territory, about violence, about who lived and who died. Gabriel was 19, home from his first semester at Columbia on pre-med track. Rico sat in their father's study, now his study, surrounded by ledgers tracking protection money, loan sharking, numbers running. A bottle of whiskey sat half-empty on the desk. Blood still stained the carpet from where they'd carried their father's body inside. The door slammed open. Gabriel stood there in his college sweatshirt, face twisted with fury. "Tell me it's not true," Gabriel said. "Tell you it's not true. Anthony Romano. They found him in the river this morning. Shot 3 times. The news is calling it gang violence." Rico didn't look up from the ledger. "Romano was stealing from us. Skimming 20% off the top of his collections. He got a warning. He didn't listen. So you killed him." "I had Victor handle it." "You ordered a hit." Gabriel's voice cracked. "Anthony had a wife.
Kids.
You put him in the river like garbage."
He made a choice.
"Choices have consequences." Gabriel moved closer, hands shaking. "This is what you've become? Dad's been dead 1 month, and you're already him. Worse than him. Someone has to run things. Then let it burn." Gabriel swept his arm across the desk, scattering papers. "Let the whole rotten empire burn. This isn't a family, Rico. It's poison. It's been poison our whole lives."
Rico stood slowly.
"You think I wanted this? You think I like making these calls? Then don't make them. Walk away. We could both walk away." "And go where?"
Do what?
"This is what we are, Gabriel. This is the Valente legacy. It's your legacy, not mine." Gabriel's voice dropped to something cold and final. "I got into Johns Hopkins. Full ride. I'm going to medical school. I'm going to save lives instead of taking them. I'm going to be someone Mama can actually be proud of." "You think she's not proud of me? I think she's ashamed. I think Dad's legacy is blood and bullets and broken families. And I think you're too scared to walk away from it." The accusation hit harder than any punch. Rico felt something crack inside his chest. "You want to go? Then go. But you don't get to come back. You don't get to call when you need money or help or favors. You walk out that door, Gabriel Santos." Rico used their mother's maiden name like a weapon. "You stay gone.
Fine.
And if anyone asks, you're off limits. Untouchable. You're not a Valente anymore. You're nobody to us." Gabriel's eyes filled with tears. "I was never anybody to you. Just another piece on Dad's chessboard. Get out. I'm going to save people, Rico. Real people. Not criminals. Not monsters. I'm going to do something that actually matters." "Then do it somewhere else." Gabriel walked to the door, stopped. "When Mama wakes up, if she wakes up and asks about me, tell her I'm sorry. Tell her I tried to be better."
She won't ask.
"Because you'll be dead to us." Gabriel left. The door clicked shut, and Rico stood alone in his father's study, surrounded by ledgers of blood money, and poured himself another drink. They hadn't spoken in 8 years. Lightning flashed, snapping Rico back to the present. The harbor district spread before him through the rain. Abandoned buildings, rusted fences, the skeletal remains of a once thriving port. He'd been wrong that night. So completely, devastatingly wrong. Gabriel had been right about everything. The family was poison. The violence was a cancer. Their father's legacy was death wrapped in expensive suits and false loyalty. And Rico had been too proud, too scared, too trapped to admit it. It took their mother's stroke 2 years ago to finally wake him up. Seeing her in that hospital bed, tubes running from her arms, machine breathing for her, it shattered something in Rico. He'd realized that he was going to end up just like his father, dead in a puddle of his own blood, leaving nothing behind but fear and broken people. So he'd walked away, faked his death, became Marcus Delgado, tried to be someone who could look his mother in the eye if she ever woke up. But he'd never reached out to Gabriel, never apologized, never tried to bridge the gap he'd created with his pride and his anger. Now Gabriel was in that warehouse with a gun to his head, being forced to save a gangster's life, trapped in the exact violence he'd tried to escape. Because of the Valente name, because of their father's legacy, because of everything they'd both tried to leave behind. Not this time, Rico whispered to the rain-lashed windshield. This time I don't let you go. The GPS announced, arriving at destination. Pier 17 loomed ahead, a stretch of crumbling concrete jutting into the harbor. At the end, barely visible through the storm, sat the old fish processing plant. Lights glowed in the windows. Gabriel was in there. And Rico was going to bring him home, even if it meant dying to do it. He parked the car in the shadow of a rusted shipping container, killed the engine, and checked his gun one more time. 15 rounds in the magazine. 1 in the chamber. Against how many serpents? 10? 20? Didn't matter. Rico stepped out into the rain and started walking toward the warehouse. Toward his brother. Toward redemption or death. He didn't care which anymore. Elena stood in the NICU waiting room, staring at her phone. The cracked screen reflected her hollow eyes back at her. Through the glass partition, nurses surrounded Matthew's incubator, adjusting monitors, checking 4 lines. Her baby's heart rate kept dropping, stabilizing, dropping again. 2:14 a.m. 2 hours and 46 minutes. Dr. Chin had been honest with her 15 minutes ago. We're running out of time, Mrs. Rivera. Even if the surgeon arrives in the next hour, Matthew's heart is weakening. Every minute counts now. Elena had nodded numbly, asked if she could hold him. Not yet, Dr. Chin said gently. The moment we disconnect any of these monitors, we lose critical data.
I'm sorry.
So Elena stood here, separated from her dying son by a pane of glass, watching strangers keep him alive with machines and medication and sheer determination. Where was Rico Valente? Had he found his brother? Was Gabriel even still alive? She pulled out her phone and scrolled to her recent calls. Nothing from the hospital. Nothing from the police. Nothing from anyone who could help. Then she remembered the courier phone. The number she'd glimpsed when Miguel checked the screen. Rico had been calling someone who might know where Gabriel was being held. Elena had always been good with numbers. Occupational hazard of being an accountant before Matthew was born. She'd seen the callback number for maybe 3 seconds, but her brain had captured it like a photograph. 267-555-0147. She typed it into her phone, stared at it. This was crazy. What would she even say? Hi, I'm looking for a kidnapped surgeon. But sitting here doing nothing was driving her insane. Rico had said he'd handle it, but what if he couldn't? What if he got killed trying? Her thumb hovered over the call button.
Do it.
For Matthew. Do anything. She pressed call. 3 miles away, in a cramped office above a pawn shop, Carlos Flaco Menendez heard his work phone ring. He glanced at the screen, a known number, and considered ignoring it. Then he remembered that Vinny Russo used this line for business, and Vinny paid well for information brokerage. Flaco answered. Yeah. A woman's voice, shaky but urgent. Hi, I'm calling about. I need information about a surgeon. Dr. Gabriel Valente. Flaco sat up straight. He glanced at the police scanner on his desk, still chattering about the storm, traffic accidents, flooded roads. Then at his other phone, the one connected to the Serpent's network. 20 minutes ago, Diego had sent out a group text. Valente's brother showed up. Keep eyes open. Kill on sight if he comes back. And now someone was calling about the surgeon. Flaco's mind raced. This could be valuable. The Serpents were paying premium for anything related to the Valente situation. Diego was paranoid that Rico would try something stupid.
Who's this?
Flaco asked, making his voice professional, friendly. You calling from St. Mary's? Yes, Elena said quickly. This is about the code red patient. The baby who needs cardiac surgery. Someone told me this number might have information about where Dr. Valente is. Bingo. Oh, right, yeah, Flaco said smoothly, switching into character. This is Hospital Logistics Dispatch. We're coordinating with police on the situation. What's your name, ma'am?
Elena Rivera.
I'm the baby's mother. Please, I need to know if anyone's found him.
My son is dying.
He has less than 3 hours and her voice broke. Mrs. Rivera, I understand. We're doing everything we can. Flaco was already typing on his other phone, texting Diego. Got a call from the hospital. Mother looking for surgeon. She has this number. Someone's been talking. Can you confirm which hospital you're calling from? St. Mary's. 4th floor NICU. My baby is Matthew Rivera. He's 3 days old, and his heart is failing and… I understand.
Stay calm.
We have units searching for Dr. Valente. Can I ask who gave you this number? Elena hesitated. A man at the hospital. He said he was Gabriel's brother. He was trying to help. Rico gave her the number. Stupid mistake. And this brother, did he say where he was going? He left about an hour ago. He said something about the harbor. Pier 17-inch. Flaco's eyes widened. She just confirmed Rico was heading to the warehouse. Diego needed to know immediately. Mrs. Rivera, I need you to stay at the hospital. For your safety and the baby's. Don't leave the NICU floor. We'll have updates soon. But is someone actually looking? Are the police? Multiple agencies are involved. Just stay put. Can you give me a callback number? Elena rattled off her cell number. Flaco wrote it down, already planning how to use this. Thank you, Mrs. Rivera. Someone will contact you soon with updates. He hung up before she could ask more questions. Immediately, he called Diego's direct line.
What?
Diego answered. The baby's mother just called Vinny's line. She's looking for the surgeon. How the hell did she get that number? Rico gave it to her. Or she saw it somehow. Point is, she confirmed St. Mary's NICU, 4th floor. And she said Rico's heading to Pier 17. She told him everything. Diego cursed in Spanish. That's stupid, he paused.
Wait.
The mother's at St. Mary's? With the baby?
Yeah.
4th floor NICU. She's not going anywhere, the kid's dying. If Rico fails at the warehouse, he might try to leverage the baby. Get Gabriel to cooperate by threatening the patient. Diego's voice went cold and calculating. Send Tito and Luis to St. Mary's. Have them watch the NICU. If Rico shows up there, or if the mother tries to run, grab them both. You want them grabbed? Not yet. Just watched. But if things go sideways at the warehouse, we might need leverage of our own. A dying baby makes excellent motivation. Flaco felt something twist in his gut. He'd done a lot of dirty work for the Serpents, but threatening a newborn felt like crossing a line even he didn't want to cross. You sure about this, Diego? You questioning me? No, man. Just a baby? It's insurance. Tell them to be subtle. Hospital security is tight. Just eyes on the NICU until I say otherwise. Diego hung up. Flaco sat in the dim office, rain pattering against the window. He looked at Elena's callback number written on his notepad. A desperate mother calling random numbers, trying to save her son. He picked up his other phone and texted Tito. Diego wants you at St. Mary's Hospital. 4th floor NICU. Watch the Rivera baby and mother. Don't engage unless ordered. Just surveillance. Tito's response came seconds later. On it. Flaco leaned back in his chair. Somewhere out in the storm, Rico Valente was about to walk into a trap. And now the hospital, the one place that was supposed to be safe, was compromised too. He poured himself a drink and tried not to think about what happened to 3-day-old babies when gangsters started using them as bargaining chips. The rain drummed against the window like a funeral march. The fish processing plant loomed like a tomb. Rust-streaked walls, broken windows covered with plywood, a single metal door with light seeping around its edges. 2 guards stood outside under a torn awning, smoking cigarettes, AK-47s slung over their shoulders. Rico crouched behind a stack of rotting pallets 50 feet away, rain-soaked, calculating. The direct approach had gotten him information at the gym. Here, it would get him killed. He needed a different strategy. Moving silently along the pier's edge, Rico circled to the back of the building.
Avloading dock, rusted skjut.
Fire escape ladder, corroded but climbable. He tested the first rung. It held. Second rung groaned, but didn't break. Rico climbed. At the second-floor window, he peered through grime-covered glass into a gutted workspace. Empty. He used the Glock's grip to break the corner pane. One sharp tap, glass tinkling onto concrete. He reached through, unlocked the window, slipped inside. The interior stank of old fish, rust, and gun oil. Voices echoed from below. Rico moved to a catwalk overlooking the main floor. And there was Gabriel. His little brother stood at a makeshift operating table, plywood across sawhorses, wearing a stolen surgical gown over his street clothes. A man lay unconscious on the table, chest open, blood pooling. Hector Ruiz. Rico recognized the serpent tattoos. 3 bullet wounds, just like Diego said. Gabriel worked with steady hands despite the gun pointed at his head. A serpent enforcer stood 2 feet away, finger on the trigger, watching Gabriel's every move. Surgical lights, stolen from a hospital supply room, blazed overhead, and 4-bag hung from a coat rack. Heart monitor beeped erratically. Clamp, Gabriel said quietly. A second gang member, playing surgical assistant, fumbled with instruments on a tray. Which one? The curved one.
There.
That's a retractor, but it'll work. Gabriel's voice was steady, professional, even with a gun to his head. Hold this vessel. I need to ligate it before he bleeds out. 6 other serpents watched from the shadows, drinking beer, playing cards, guns within easy reach. They turned a warehouse into an operating room and Gabriel into their hostage surgeon. Rico's finger tightened on the Glock. A voice from below. Yo, Doc, how much longer? Boss is getting impatient. Gabriel didn't look up from the surgery. Bullet fragments damaged the hepatic vein. If I don't repair it correctly, he dies in an hour. You want him to live. You let me work. You got balls, Doc. Another serpent laughed. Most people got guns on them. They can't even hold a scalpel straight. I made a promise to save lives, Gabriel said quietly. Even ones like his. Rico's jaw clenched. That was Gabriel, still believing in oaths and honor, even when the world was pointing guns at his face. How touching, a new voice said. Mateo Cruz emerged from a side office, the serpent's leader. Tall, heavily muscled, serpent tattoos covering both arms. He carried a chrome .45 like it was an extension of his hand. Your brother came looking for you, Doc, Cruz said, approaching the operating table. Showed up at the harbor gym, made some threats, got himself thrown out on his ass. Gabriel's hands stilled for a fraction of a second. Rico? The one and only. Thought he was dead, but turns out ghosts can bleed after all, Cruz grinned. Diego thinks he might try something stupid. Come here, play hero. You think your big brother's that dumb? Gabriel resumed working, but Rico could see the tension in his shoulders. I haven't seen Rico in 8 years. We're not family anymore. Blood is blood. Document, trust me. If you trusted blood, you wouldn't have a gun to my head.
Cruz laughed.
I like you. You got steel. When you're done saving Hector, maybe we keep you around. Personal physician for the serpents. Better than some hospital that pays you shit. Not interested. Everyone's interested in staying alive, Doc. Rico had seen enough. Heard enough. Time to move. He aimed at the enforcer, holding the gun to Gabriel's head. Center mass. Exhaled slowly. Squeezed the trigger. The gunshot cracked like thunder. The enforcer dropped, a red bloom spreading across his chest. Chaos erupted. Contact. Second floor, someone shouted. Muzzle flashes lit the darkness. Bullets punched into the catwalk, sparks flying. Rico rolled behind a concrete pillar, returned fire. 2 shots, one serpent down, clutching his leg. 3 shots, another diving for cover. Gabriel dropped flat beside the operating table, hands covering his head. Hector Ruiz lay exposed, unconscious, bleeding out. Get the doctor.
Cruz roared.
A serpent rushed toward Gabriel. Rico shot him twice, center mass, then head. The man crumpled. Rico vaulted the catwalk railing, dropping 15 feet to the floor below. He landed hard, rolled, came up shooting. The makeshift surgical assistant raised a pistol. Rico put a round through his shoulder. The man screamed, fell. Cruz fired 3 shots. One missed. One sparked off a support beam. The third grazed Rico's shoulder. White-hot pain. Rico gritted his teeth and fired back. Cruz dove behind the operating table, using his own second-in-command as a meat shield. You want him to die?
Cruz shouted.
Keep shooting, Valente. Rico didn't stop. He charged forward, firing methodically. 2 serpents emerged from the shadows. Rico dropped the first with a headshot, clipped the second in the chest. Then his slide locked back. Empty. Cruz grinned, rising from behind the table. Out of ammo? That's unfortunate. Gabriel suddenly stood, grabbed a surgical tray, and hurled it at Cruz. Scalpels and clamps scattered. Cruz flinched just a second, but enough. Rico closed the distance, pistol-whipped Cruz across the temple. The gang leader stumbled. Rico hit him again, harder. Cruz went down, blood streaming from his scalp. The remaining serpents raised their weapons. Rico pulled a spare magazine from his pocket, reloaded with practice speed, and pressed the gun to Cruz's head. Unless you want to elect a new boss tonight. They froze. Guns down.
Kick them away. Now.
3 AK-47s clattered to the concrete. Rico looked at Gabriel. His little brother stared back, eyes wide, face spattered with Hector's blood. You okay? Rico asked. Am I? Gabriel's voice cracked. You just killed 4 people. 5, technically. But who's counting? Rico moved to the operating table, grabbed a scalpel, cut the zip ties binding Gabriel's wrist to the table frame. Come on. We're leaving. Hector's going to die if I stop now. Not our problem. Rico, I can't just. You're coming with me, little brother. Rico grabbed Gabriel's arm, pulled him toward the exit. There's a baby dying at St. Mary's. 3-day-old kid named Matthew Rivera. His mother is praying you show up in time. So we're done here. Gabriel glanced back at Hector, torn. Now, Gabriel. They ran for the door. Behind them, Cruz groaned, trying to rise. The other serpents scrambled for weapons. Rico kicked the door open. Rain and wind blasted them as they burst into the night. Headlights flared. A car screeched around the corner, Diego and reinforcements. Run. Rico shoved Gabriel toward the pier's edge. Go. Gunfire erupted. Bullets whined past them. They sprinted through the rain, toward the shipping containers, toward Rico's car. 2 hours and 20 minutes left. And every second counted. Elena paced the NICU waiting room like a caged animal. 2:43 a.m., and the monitor through the glass showed Matthew's heart rate spiking and dropping in irregular patterns. 2 nurses worked frantically around his incubator, adjusting medications, checking readings. Dr. Chen emerged from the NICU, pulling off her surgical cap. Her face said everything. How long?
Elena whispered.
Less than 2 hours. Maybe 90 minutes. Dr. Chen's voice was gentle but honest. His heart is compensating less and less. The defect is widening. Without surgical intervention, very soon. She didn't finish. She didn't need to. Elena sank into a plastic chair, phone clutched in her trembling hands. The call she'd made 20 minutes ago played on repeat in her mind. That smooth voice on the other end, hospital logistics dispatch. Something had felt wrong. Too smooth. Too quick to ask questions. Had she just made a terrible mistake? Mrs. Rivera? A security guard approached. I'm Officer Patterson. We've been asked to increase patrols on this floor given the situation with Dr. Valente. What situation? The abduction. Police are concerned the perpetrators might try to access the hospital. We're being cautious. Elena's blood went cold. You think they'd come here? Just a precaution. We've secured the main entrances and his radio crackled. He held up a finger, stepped away. Patterson here. Say again. Elena couldn't hear the response, but she saw Patterson's expression shift from routine to alert. He came back, jaw tight. Ma'am, I need you to stay in this waiting area. Don't leave this floor. What's wrong? Probably nothing. Just stay put. He moved toward the elevators, speaking into his radio. Through the glass, Matthew's monitor alarm blared. Nurses surrounded him. Dr. Chin rushed back in. Elena stood, pressing her hands against the partition.
Hold on, baby.
Please hold on. Tito and Luis entered St. Mary's through the service entrance on the east side, a door used by laundry and food deliveries. The lock was broken, had been for weeks. Hospital security was stretched thin with the storm, dealing with ER overflow and flood evacuations. They wore hospital maintenance uniforms stolen from a supply company 3 months ago. Baseball caps pulled low. Heads down. Just 2 workers on the night shift. 4th floor. Luis muttered as they walked through dimly lit corridors toward the service elevator. NICU. We just watch, right? Diego said surveillance only. Yeah, Tito said, but his hand rested on the pistol tucked into his waistband under the maintenance jacket. Unless the brother shows up. Then we grab the mother. Use her as leverage. Man, I don't like this. A baby? That's the job. Diego's orders. Tito pressed the elevator button. Besides, we're not hurting anybody. Just watching. The elevator dinged. They stepped inside. 4th floor button lit up. What if security spots us? Luis asked. We're maintenance. Checking a water leak. Relax. The elevator rose.
Luis shifted nervously.
You know who Rico Valente is, right? What he did back in the day. Ancient history. Dude's been gone 2 years. Diego said he took out 4 guys at the warehouse tonight. Alone. Diego exaggerates. And if he doesn't? The elevator dinged. 4th floor. Doors opened onto a quiet corridor. Signs pointed toward NICU, maternity ward, pediatrics. A nurse walked past, barely glancing at them. They waited until she turned a corner. There, Tito nodded toward the NICU waiting area at the end of the hall. Stay back. Use the maintenance closet across the hall. We can see the entrance from there. They moved casually, 2 workers with nowhere important to be. The maintenance closet door was unlocked. Hospitals never secured the utility spaces properly. Inside, between shelves of cleaning supplies and extra linens, they had a clear view through the cracked door. Elena Rivera sat in the waiting room, head in her hands. Alone. Vulnerable. That's her, Luis whispered. The mother. Yeah, Tito pulled out his phone, texted Diego in position. Eyes on target. The response came immediately, stand by. Warehouse situation went sideways. Valente brothers escaped. They're coming to you. Tito's eyes widened.
Shit.
They got away. Diego says they're heading here. Both of them?
Yeah.
The brother and the doctor. Tito checked his gun. Orders are to secure the mother and baby. Don't let them leave. Secure? Like kidnap. Like leverage. If Valente tries anything, we threaten the baby. Make the doctor cooperate. Luis felt sick. Man, this is wrong. You want to tell Diego that? They watched through the crack as Elena stood, moved to the glass partition. Inside the NICU, alarms were blaring. Medical staff rushed around a small incubator. That's the baby, Tito said. The dying one. Elena pressed her forehead against the glass, crying silently. Officer Patterson returned to the waiting area, walking quickly. Another security guard followed, a woman, Officer Martinez. Mrs. Rivera, Patterson said. We've had a possible security breach. 2 men in maintenance uniforms entered through the East Service entrance. We're trying to locate them now. Elena's face went white. Oh God. Oh God. I did this. What do you mean? I called a number, looking for information about Dr. Valente. The man I talked to, he asked which hospital, which floor. Tears streamed down her face. I told him everything. I led them here. Patterson's expression hardened. He grabbed his radio. All units, we have a credible threat to 4th floor NICU. 2 suspects in maintenance uniforms. Consider them armed and dangerous. Lock down the floor.
Now.
Martinez moved to the NICU entrance. No one in or out without authorization. The overhead speakers crackled. Code Silver. 4th floor. Code Silver. 4th floor. Security lockdown. Active threat. Inside the NICU, nurses looked up in alarm. Dr. Chen emerged. What's happening? Possible hostile entry, Patterson said. We're securing the unit. No one leaves, no one enters. We have critical patients. I understand. But if there's a threat, my baby, Elena cried. They're here because of my baby. Because I called that number. Dr. Chen grabbed her shoulders. Elena, listen to me. Matthew is stable for now. We're not letting anyone near him. Understand? But Elena was spiraling. It's my fault. I was trying to help and I. In the maintenance closet, Tito watched security converge on the floor. We're blown, Luis hissed. We need to get out.
No.
We wait. They don't know where we are. Once the doctor shows up. If we get caught in here, shut up and let me think. Tito's phone buzzed. Diego again. Do not engage security. Blend in and wait for my signal. Valente brothers are 15 minutes out. When they arrive, that's when we move.
Down the hall, more security arrived.
4 officers now, setting up a perimeter. 1 checked doors, offices, supply closets, storage rooms. Moving toward them. He's checking doors, Luis breathed. We're trapped. The officer was 3 doors away. 2 doors.
1.
His hand reached for their closet handle. Inside the NICU, Matthew Rivera's heart monitor began a steady, declining beep. The clock read 2:52 a.m. 90 minutes left. And the trap was closing from all sides. Rico's stolen van, a serpent vehicle he'd grabbed from the warehouse lot, fishtailed through the flooded streets. Gabriel gripped the dashboard, still in his blood-soaked surgical gown, face white with shock. Behind them, headlights blazed through the rain. 2 cars, maybe 3. Gunshots cracked. A bullet spiderwebbed the rear window. Get down. Rico yanked the wheel hard left, tires screaming. The van skidded around a corner onto Harbor Boulevard. Streetlights blurred past. The speedometer hit 70. Gabriel ducked, breathing hard. You're insane. You're completely insane. Welcome back to the family business. Rico checked the rear view. The pursuit cars were closing. Buckle up. Buckle up? You just killed 5 people. They were going to kill you. I was handling it.
Rico barked a laugh.
Yeah, you looked real in control with that gun to your head. He swerved around a delivery truck, barely missing a parked car. How was your evening, Gabriel? Nice, quiet surgery. This is exactly why I left. Gabriel shouted. This is what you do. You bring chaos everywhere you go. Violence.
Death.
You turn everything you touch into a war zone. I came to save your life. I didn't ask you to. Another gunshot. The side mirror exploded. Rico floored it, blowing through a red light. Cross-traffic honked. A taxi swerved, crashed into a light pole. The van barreled through the intersection onto Market Street. This isn't about you, Rico said through gritted teeth. This is about a 3-day-old baby named Matthew Rivera who's dying at St. Mary's right now. His mother begged me to find you because you're the only surgeon who can save him. Gabriel stared. What? You were supposed to operate on him tonight. Emergency cardiac surgery. 6-hour window. The serpents grabbed you 4 hours ago. Rico checked his watch. Now we've got less than 90 minutes. A baby? That's why. Gabriel's face shifted from anger to horror. The code read. The NICU.
Yeah.
So you can be pissed at me later. Right now, that kid needs you. Police sirens wailed in the distance. Rico's eyes flicked to the radio scanner on the dashboard. He turned it on when they took the van. Dispatch chatter crackled through static. Multiple gunshots reported at Pier 17. Officer requesting backup. Possible gang-related shooting. Great, Gabriel muttered. Now the cops are involved. That might actually help us. Rico turned onto 4th Street, heading toward downtown. The serpents can't chase us through a police dragnet. As if summoning them, blue and red lights appeared ahead. A police cruiser blocked the intersection. 2 officers setting up a perimeter around the Pier district. Rico slammed the brakes. The van skidded to a stop 30 feet from the roadblock. Behind them, the Serpent pursuit cars screeched around the corner. Seeing the police, they immediately reversed course, tires smoking as they fled. One officer approached the van, hand on his holster. "Driver, turn off the engine and step out of the vehicle." Rico met Gabriel's eyes. "Trust me. One more time. I stopped trusting you 8 years ago. Then trust that I want to save that baby." Rico rolled down the window, hands visible. The officer, young, maybe 25, shined his flashlight into the van. "Sir, this vehicle matches the description of he saw Gabriel's blood-stained surgical gown. Jesus. Is someone hurt?" "I'm a doctor," Gabriel said quickly. "Dr. Gabriel Valente from St. Mary's Hospital. I was kidnapped earlier tonight and forced to perform surgery. This man rescued me." The officer's flashlight swung to Rico. "Your name, sir?" "Marcus Delgado. I'm his brother." "ID." Rico handed over his fake driver's license. The officer studied it, then spoke into his radio. "Dispatch, I've got a possible kidnapping victim. Male, late 20s, claims to be Dr. Gabriel Valente from St. Mary's. Can you confirm?" Static. Then, affirmative. Dr. Valente was reported abducted at approximately 1940 hours. "Is he injured?" "No visible injuries. He's covered in blood, but says he was performing surgery." "Copy that." St. Mary's Hospital has been requesting updates. They have a critical pediatric patient requiring his immediate attention. The officer looked at Gabriel. "You need to get to St. Mary's?"
Yes.
"Urgently. A baby is dying." "Then you've got an escort," the officer waved to his partner. "Miller, we're taking these two to St. Mary's. Emergency medical transport." "Wait," Rico said. "The men who took him, they might have people at the hospital." The officer's expression hardened. "Then it's a good thing we're coming with you. Follow us." The police cruiser pulled ahead, lights and sirens blazing. Rico followed close behind. The second cruiser fell in behind them, a convoy racing through the pre-dawn streets. Gabriel stared out the windshield. A baby. 3 days old. "Yeah. What's wrong with him?" "Heart defect. Valve or something. I don't know the medical terms. His mother said you were the only surgeon available." Gabriel closed his eyes. "Congenital heart defect. Probably truncus arteriosus or tetralogy of Fallot. Those are the most common critical defects in newborns." He opened his eyes. "How long has he been waiting?" "Since you were taken." "About 5 hours now." 5 hours, Gabriel's hands trembled. "If it's severe, he might not make it even if we get there in time." "He will," Rico said. "Because you're the best." "That's what everyone says." "I'm good. But I'm not a miracle worker. Tonight you are." The convoy blew through intersections, scattering early morning traffic. The rain had lessened to a drizzle. In the east, the sky was beginning to lighten, pre-dawn gray bleeding into the darkness. The scanner crackled again. "All units, be advised. Reports of 2 suspects in maintenance uniforms at St. Mary's Hospital, 4th floor. Code Silver in effect." Rico's blood went cold. "They're at the hospital." "Who?" "The Serpents. They must have sent people after the baby. As leverage." Gabriel's face went white. "You brought them to the hospital?" "The mother called a number trying to find you. They must have traced it. So now there are armed gang members in a NICU full of premature babies. Hospital security will." "Hospital security isn't equipped for this." Gabriel slammed his fist against the dashboard. "This is what I'm talking about, Rico. Your world doesn't stay contained. It spreads like poison. Now that baby, that innocent baby, is caught in crossfire because of us. Because of the Valente name." Rico had no answer. Because Gabriel was right. The hospital appeared ahead, a lit fortress against the dark sky. Emergency lights flashed around the entrance. Police vehicles. Security vans. The convoy pulled into the ambulance bay. Officers jumped out, hands on weapons. "Stay close to us," the lead officer told Gabriel. If there are hostiles inside. I don't care about hostiles, Gabriel said, already running toward the entrance. I have a patient. Rico followed, the Glock heavy against his spine. Somewhere above them, on the fourth floor, Matthew Rivera was dying. And the serpents were waiting. The clock read 3:11 a.m. 49 minutes left. The elevator doors opened on the fourth floor. Gabriel burst out first, still in his blood-stained surgical gown, Rico and two police officers close behind. The corridor was chaos, security guards everywhere, nurses hovering near the NICU entrance, Dr. Chen shouting orders into a phone. Elena saw Gabriel and screamed. She ran toward him, nearly collapsing. Her hands grabbed his sleeve, his arm, anything to confirm he was real. Please, she sobbed. Please, my baby.
He's dying.
They said minutes now. Please. Gabriel steadied her. Mrs. Rivera, I'm here. I'm going to help your son. Matthew. His name is Matthew. Matthew. Gabriel looked into her desperate eyes. I need you to trust me.
Can you do that? Elena nodded, der streaming.
Save him. Just save him. Dr. Chen pushed through the crowd. Gabriel, thank God. We've got maybe 30 minutes. 40 if we're lucky. His heart rate is dropping. We've maxed out on medication. Prep or 3. I need full cardiac setup, neonatal instruments, bypass machine on standby, O-negative blood, 2 units minimum. Gabriel was already moving toward the scrub room. Get me an anesthesiologist and your best NICU nurse. Already done. We've been ready for hours. Officer Patterson intercepted Rico. Sir, you need to stay back. This is a secure area. I'm with him. Rico nodded toward Gabriel's retreating figure. You're not medical personnel. You'll have to wait in. A crash from down the hallway. The maintenance closet door burst open. Tito and Luis bolted, guns drawn, running toward the NICU entrance. They're going for the baby, Officer Martinez shouted. Everything happened in seconds. Tito raised his pistol toward the NICU glass partition. Luis ran for Elena. Rico moved on instinct, shoulder-checked Luis into the wall, grabbed his gun wrist, twisted hard. Bone cracked. Luis screamed. Patterson and Martinez drew weapons. Drop it. Drop the gun. Tito spun, aiming at the officers. 3 gunshots cracked simultaneously. Tito jerked backward, blood blooming across his chest. He collapsed. Luis, still held by Rico, went limp. Don't shoot. Don't shoot. I'm done. Rico slammed him face first into the floor, knee in his back. Patterson rushed over with handcuffs. Secure. Martinez called out. Dr. Chen stood frozen for half a second, then snapped back to action. Gabriel, go. We've got this handled. Save that baby. Gabriel was already in the scrub room, washing his hands with mechanical precision. Rico could see him through the window, face focused, shutting out everything. The violence, the chaos, the guns. None of it existed in Gabriel's world right now. Only the surgery mattered. Elena collapsed against the wall, hyperventilating. A nurse rushed over with a chair, helped her sit. More security arrived. More police. Someone pulled Rico aside, started asking questions. Rico barely heard them. His eyes were locked on the scrub room window, watching his brother prepare. 8 years. 8 years of silence. Of pretending Gabriel didn't exist. And here he was, about to save a life while Rico's hands were still warm from violence. Or 3 was a cathedral of sterile light. Gabriel entered, hands raised, freshly scrubbed. A nurse helped him into a surgical gown and gloves. The anesthesiologist, Dr. Kim, his badge red, was already intubating the tiny patient. Matthew Rivera looked impossibly small on the operating table. 3 pounds, maybe 4. His chest barely wider than Gabriel's palm. Monitors surrounded him, each one telling a story of a heart struggling to beat. Stats. Gabriel asked, positioning himself at the table. Heart rate 58 and dropping. Blood pressure 70/40. Oxygen saturation 82%. Dr. Kim's voice was tense. We're running out of time, Gabriel. Then let's not waste it. Gabriel looked at the surgical nurse. Scalpel. The blade touched skin. A perfect incision, barely 2 inches long. Blood welled. Gabriel worked with absolute precision, hands steady despite exhaustion, despite everything he'd endured in the past 5 hours. Truncus arteriosus, type 1, he murmured, seeing the defect. The main vessel hasn't separated into the aorta and pulmonary artery. I need to repair and reconstruct. Can you do it? Dr. Kim asked. I have to. Gabriel's hands moved like a symphony. Suture, clamp, cut, repair. He worked on structures smaller than a dime, vessels thinner than thread. One mistake and Matthew would bleed out in seconds. Blood pressure dropping, Dr. Kim warned. 60/30. I see it. Give me 2 more minutes. Gabriel. 2 minutes. The room held its breath. Dr. Chen watched from the observation window above, Elena beside her, hands pressed against the glass. Rico stood in the corner, unnoticed, bloodied jacket wrapped around his torn shoulder, watching his brother do what he did best.
Save lives.
Gabriel reconstructed the malformed vessels, creating pathways for blood to flow correctly. His fingers moved with absolute certainty, muscle memory from thousands of hours of training. Starting bypass, he said. The machine hummed to life, taking over from Matthew's failing heart while Gabriel completed the repair. 30 minutes became 40. 40 became 50. Almost there, Gabriel whispered. Hold on, Matthew. Just hold on. Final sutures. Vessel repair complete. Gabriel stepped back, nodded to Dr. Kim. Take him off bypass. Let's see if his heart can handle it. The machine powered down. For 3 eternal seconds, nothing happened. Then the monitor beeped.
Once. Twice.
A rhythm establishing itself. Heart rate 60.
70.
85, Dr. Kim said, voice cracking. Blood pressure rising. Oxygen saturation 90%. 95. He's doing it, the surgical nurse breathed. He's stabilizing. Gabriel closed his eyes briefly. Finish closing. Monitor him constantly. Any irregularities, page me immediately. You did it, Dr. Chen said through the intercom. Gabriel, you saved him. But Gabriel was already pulling off his gloves, heading for the door. He needed to tell Elena her son was alive. In the observation room, Elena collapsed sobbing into Dr. Chen's arms. Through her tears, she kept saying the same thing. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Rico slipped away quietly. No one noticed him leave. He took the stairs down to the 2nd floor, his shoulder throbbing, exhaustion crashing over him like a wave. The chapel door stood open, candlelight flickering inside. Rico entered and sat in the back pew, exactly where he'd sat hours ago when this nightmare began. Blood from his shoulder, wound, seeped through his jacket. His hands shook slightly, delayed adrenaline crash. 5 people dead. A hospital under siege. A baby saved. And Gabriel had done what he'd always done. Chosen healing over violence. Chosen life. Rico pulled out his mother's rosary, the beads slick with his own blood now. He didn't pray, didn't have words left for God. He just sat in the silence, listening to the hospital wake around him as dawn broke outside. His brother was alive. The baby was alive. That would have to be enough. The chapel was empty when Elena found it. She'd left the NICU after the nurses assured her Matthew was stable, sleeping peacefully in his incubator. The monitor showed a strong, steady heartbeat, the most beautiful sound she'd ever heard. Dr. Chen said he'd need recovery time, more surgeries as he grew, but he would live. Her son would live. She'd wanted to thank Rico, to thank the man who'd promised to bring the surgeon back and had kept his word. But when she'd returned to the 4th floor, he was gone. The brother? Officer Patterson had said. Left about 20 minutes ago. Didn't say where he was going. So Elena had wandered, following some instinct she couldn't name, until she found herself outside the chapel on the 2nd floor. The door stood ajar, candlelight flickering inside. She entered quietly. The chapel was simple, peaceful, a place outside of time. She walked down the aisle, intending to pray, to thank God for the miracle of her son's survival. Then she saw it. On the back pew, dark against the pale wood, a rosary. Black beads, silver crucifix. Blood stained the cotton thread holding it together, still wet, still fresh. Elena picked it up carefully, the weight of it heavy in her palm. This was his. The man who'd saved them. Rico Valente, if that was even his real name. She clutched the rosary to her chest and, finally, let herself cry. Not tears of fear this time, but relief. Gratitude. For a stranger who'd walked back into violence to save people he didn't know. 2 floors up, Detective Sarah Morrison cornered Gabriel in the physician's lounge. He'd showered, changed into clean scrubs, but exhaustion carved deep lines around his eyes. Dr. Valente, we need to ask you some questions about what happened at Pier 17, she said, notebook open. 5 bodies, multiple gunshot wounds. You were there? I was forced to perform surgery on Hector Ruiz, Gabriel said flatly. Under duress. Armed men held me at gunpoint. And your brother, Marcus Delgado, also known as Rico Valente, he extracted you. Gabriel met her eyes. I haven't seen my brother in 8 years. A man claiming to be him showed up, yes. He got me out. That's all I know. Dr. Valente, we have reason to believe Rico Valente was involved in organized crime. The Valente family is dead, Gabriel interrupted. Has been for years. I changed my name, went to medical school, built a life saving people. Whatever my family was, I'm not part of it. But your brother is gone. Again, Gabriel stood. Detective, I have a patient to monitor. A 3-day-old baby who almost died tonight. If you need anything else from me, you can contact my lawyer. He walked out before she could respond. Detective Morrison sighed, flipping through her notes. Rico Valente, ghost for 2 years, suddenly resurfaces, kills 5 gang members, saves his brother, and vanishes again. No trace. No leads. Like smoke dissolving into air. Rico stood on the hospital rooftop, watching the sunrise. He'd climbed the maintenance ladder, the one that led to the roof access for HVAC units. His shoulder throbbed where the bullet had grazed him, but he'd live. Wouldn't even need stitches. The city stretched before him, bathed in pink and gold light. Dawn breaking over Philadelphia. Somewhere below, in that maze of steel and concrete, people were waking up, going to work, drinking coffee, living normal lives. Marcus Delgado's life had ended tonight. The apartment, the construction job, the quiet routine, all of it was burned now. The police had his fake name, his face, his connection to the Valente family. He couldn't go back to being nobody. Rico pulled out a cigarette, lit it with his father's old Zippo. The smoke curled into the morning air, ghostly in the new light. He couldn't remember the last time he'd watched a sunrise. Years, maybe. His life had been darkness for so long. But today, a baby named Matthew Rivera would grow up, would take first steps, speak first words, maybe become something amazing. Because Gabriel had been there. Because Rico had made sure Gabriel could be there. 1 life saved was worth. What? 5 lives taken? There was no cosmic scoreboard, no way to balance those scales. Rico knew that. But standing here, watching light chase away shadow, he felt something he hadn't felt in years. Peace. Not forgiveness. Not redemption, exactly. Just peace. He'd made a vow in the chapel, once more. He'd kept it. Gabriel was safe. Matthew was alive. Elena had her son. And Rico Valente could disappear again. This time for good. He thought about his mother, still sleeping in her coma on the 4th floor. Maybe it was better she never knew what he'd done. What he'd become. What he'd had to become again to save Gabriel. Goodbye, Mama, he whispered to the dawn. I tried to be better. I really did. He took a final drag on the cigarette, crushed it under his boot, and walked to the roof's edge. The fire escape led down to an alley. From there, he could disappear into the city, catch a bus to Baltimore, then Philadelphia proper, then anywhere. New name, new city, new life. Just like before. Except this time, he'd carry the memory of his brother's steady hands saving a life. The image of Elena's face when she heard her son would live. The weight of knowing that sometimes, just sometimes, violence could birth something good. Rico climbed down the fire escape as the hospital woke behind him. By the time anyone thought to look for him, he'd be 3 states away. Gone like smoke. Gone like a prayer. Gone like the ghost everyone thought he'd been all along. The sun rose higher, burning away the last shadows of night. And Rico Valente walked into it, alone, free, and finally at peace.